In the creating community, we've been in dialogue around this idea of confidence. And this month's creators class, the idea that having more confidence would help me to move forward came up. And as soon as that idea came up, it was quickly obvious that seeking confidence was actually an obstacle, because to be confident in something means you really have certainty around the outcome. And to be honest, that's something that comes through experience of having produced the outcome. And even then, a sense of certainty about an outcome is useful until it's not, because we can't really ever be certain what's going to happen. But most importantly here is that confidence is something that comes from having the experience of an outcome. And if we're seeking that in advance of taking action to produce an outcome, then we're really putting the cart before the horse. We're really seeking something we can only get from having achieved it. Now, a slight caveat here. A person can create the experience of certainty through imagining a positive outcome, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you can take the time to practice inculcating the experience of certainty before you take an action that would produce an outcome, and you can actually generate a feeling of confidence in something you haven't done yet. I'm not saying that's not possible. It is a longer route. So if there's an action to be taken that could produce a result that would be useful for you to take the time to produce the confidence beforehand, if you have the time, go ahead and do it. But I'd like to talk about some quicker routes to action and to results. So when you become aware that that wanting confidence is actually wanting something that comes after the result, then you think, well, then if I don't have confidence, meaning I don't have certainty in the result, well, then I've got fear around that. And so the obvious next solution becomes, well, then I guess I just need to have courage. I need to be willing to risk failing. I need to be willing to risk this thing that I'm afraid of actually happening. Being seen a way I don't want to be seen. Having a situation that I don't want to have. Losing money, losing a relationship, something not working out, being seen as not enough, for example. And so, courage seems like a great solution to that too. And once again, it can be used. It's useful. It's what I would call the black path in relationship to fear. And so the black path in relationship to fear is kind of the feel the fear and do it anyway path. It's like the fear is, we just accept, we presuppose that the fear is there and it's not going to go away, and therefore we either don't act or we move through it. It's what we could call the fight response to fear, just to muscle through, to force through, to power through, versus the flight response to fear, which is to run away and not take any action. So in that sense, it's better. However, it's still an engagement in the dance of life, as in a way in which we just accept that fear is a thing that is, and we can't do anything about it. We just need to meet it. It's better than running away, maybe, but the problem with it is anytime we act in the face of fear or motivated by fear, we may move forward and produce a result, but we entrench the idea that fear is real, and we entrench the relationship to fear of we have to fight and we have to muscle through it. And so, look, again, there's times for me, feel the fear and do it anyway, have a little bit of courage, it gets the job done. However, what I'm most interested in is what I would call the white path in relationship to fear, or white path in creating. And so the white path to action is one in which you actually dissolve the fear. You move into an experience of fearlessness. You don't presuppose that just because you're afraid, you have to face that fear. You actually move back, zoom out, disassociate from it in a way that actually dissolves it and has it not exist. And so removing the obstacle, the internal obstacle completely. So we'll talk about how to do that in a second, but just to review the journey here. We go from wanting certainty, i.e. confidence in advance of taking an action. We realize that wanting that is essentially wanting something that comes after the action. It comes from experience, or it can be something that can be generated through imagining the positive result over and over again. But in any case, we have to experience the result. That gives us certainty in the likeliness of the result, and that's what we call confidence. And if we can do that, or we can see, that's a bit more work than I really want to have to put in to just take this action. And so, okay, I'm uncomfortable, I'm afraid, so courage is the next best option. Let's core the heart, right? Let's get the heart inspired, that thing that has me run towards bullets or my own death. It's like, it's a noble thing. We praise it, and it's not the only way. It's not the only way. Even, I would say, running towards death, courage is not the only option. If you do not fear death, we're moving from black path to white path, I wouldn't call it courage anymore. Courage presupposes fear, and it's energy that overcomes it. White path is the dissolving of fear completely. And so how do we do that? Well, in the conversation we were in Creators class, we talked about having commitment. And not just commitment in general. You could say, well, I'm committed to succeed in this result, and therefore I'm going to feel the fear and do it anyway. You could have a commitment that's flavored in black path, but a white path commitment is a commitment that's outward oriented, that takes you out of yourself into something greater than yourself, into a commitment to the unfolding of the universe, a commitment to participation in the dance of creation, a commitment to act for the sake of acting, a commitment to serving other people, and a commitment meaning I'm basically just going to keep doing it until I get there. I don't know when it's going to happen. I don't know how it's necessarily going to happen. I don't have certainty as to whether or not it will happen. I am simply committed to making it happen. And it's okay if I don't get there at any particular point. So you're letting go of the outcome. The outcome that you are concerned you might not achieve is the thing that's the structure that creates the fear. If you're not connected or attached to an outcome in such a way where you must have it in order to be okay, then the fear of not having it no longer exists. It becomes actually irrelevant whether or not you achieve it because you're no longer attached to it. So yeah, we're talking about non-attachment, but pragmatically, how do you do that? Well, you replace it with a focus on something else. You replace it with a focus on your commitment to something else, your commitment not to getting the result in a certain way by a certain time, but a commitment to making sure that the result happens as much as you can, and it's okay if it doesn't. So the way that I relate to it in business, it's like I'm committed to creating this client or creating a client, for example, and I would love it to happen by this time in this place, and I'm committed to doing that, meaning I'm going to do everything in my power to do that, and if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But I'm still committed to it, 100% committed, and I'm going to show up every day and act in such a way where everything in my power is focused on making that happen. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. One of the ways that I talk about my commitment to my wife and our marriage is I say, I am committed to you forever, right now, which means that where I live in this present space, in this moment in time, is with the future vision, with the orientation, with the focus that our lives are entwined and entangled in partnership for the rest of our lives. I live that right now. But I say right now because I don't necessarily know how I'm going to feel and what's going to happen in the future. I'm committed to you forever, and I'm living from that space right now. And so it's being connected to a point in the future with a presence that's a state of being in the now moment and not an attachment to a future that may or may not occur. So it's holding both an understanding that the future that unfolds is not determined by me, while at the same time holding a state of being that's committed to a specific, very, very specific future at a certain point in time. And it's holding both of those in place at the same time that for me creates the experience of creation without attachment, of action without a need for a result, and therefore making certainty in the production of that result irrelevant, therefore making the fear of producing that result irrelevant, and therefore making the experience of taking an action one that's fearless, not one that's courageous or one that's confident. Today is the perfect day for you to create who you are. You are loved and you are powerful, and I am loving you simply for your being here. I'll talk to you soon.